So Renato Moicano ended up turning down about $200,000 from the UFC because of everything going on with the lawsuit, and a lot of people have been really reaming Renato Moicano, calling him an idiot, all of those things. Today, I want to give my thoughts. We're going to see what Renato Moicano said, then we're going to see what the internet had to say about Renato Moicano in the replies to what he had to say. We're going to talk about all of that, and as always, I'd love to hear what you think about it down below in the comments. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. So I will give my thoughts, but let's read what Renato Moicano exactly had to say over on X about this at first, okay? I'm amazed by how many people are cursing me out for my decision not to take the money from the lawsuit against the UFC. I believe those who are criticizing me haven't stopped to think about something simple. You shouldn't need a contract for your word to mean something. I agreed to the terms of the contract. At the time, that money was a huge deal for me. I don't expect the UFC to acknowledge this. The UFC is a company, and a company is focused on productivity. I'm doing this for myself and the things that I believe in. If you think I'm wrong, that's okay. That's the beauty of freedom. Everyone has their own life. Ruin it however you want. Nothing in this world is free, and he continues on with a couple more things. While I don't agree with a lot of things the UFC does, for example, not allowing fighters to put sponsors on their fight shorts, but when I signed the contract, I accepted those terms. If you're not satisfied, you can simply choose to not sign the contract. Monopolies are created by law. UFC bouts other promotions. They agree that was a free market. We have other shows like PFL, so there's non-legal barriers for the other promotion. The UFC bought. Okay, the UFC bought. That makes more sense. Sorry, I wasn't reading a little bit ahead. But when it comes to this entire thing, my initial take for it is I don't get why people are freaking out about Renato Moicano by this, to be honest with you. Like, like he kind of said, if he wants to ruin his own life and do whatever he wants, I don't know. I don't see the big deal about it. Like, it's weird. So, like, when it's weird because it comes down to, like, I think that people are looking way too deep into this. Like, I do not get what the big deal about it is. Like, you would have taken the money, I would have taken the money. Honestly, that's fine, guys. That is a personal choice, but Moicano didn't take it. He chose to turn down what was going to be a six-figure payout because he felt that it would compromise his principles. Whether you agree with him or not, he's correct, and he's honoring his word. He's signed a contract, and he's standing by what he had to say in the contract. You know, like, meanwhile, the rest of us, we're here admitting that we'd, like, break our own word for a payout. And you might think that that's stupid, but, like, honestly, guys, I'm sorry. I'm correct in saying that. While we may not have done what Renato did, you have to give someone a little bit of respect who actually lives by the code they preach, and especially in, as some people would say, the big 2025. Integrity is rare these days. A lot of people don't stick to their words anymore, but something else that went viral that we're going to be taking a look at is, actually, I'll show it to you right now because Brendan Schaub was actually somebody who had a little bit to say, and sorry, I just faded out to the wrong OBS screen over here, but let me bring you over to what Brendan Schaub had to say, and he made an entire video on this, an entire podcast, but this is kind of like the gist of it, okay? Just so you know, Moicano, Dana bets with $200,000 every night like it ain't crap. So if you think his mind is going, well, Moicano didn't take the money, let's hook this guy up, you don't know the world, dude. And I understand what Brendan Schaub's going to say, and there's something else that I probably should have mentioned that, you know, how everybody's just calling Renato Moicano a big idiot. A lot of people are saying something along the lines of like, oh, Moicano just thinks that the UFC isn't going to cut him anymore. I don't think they were going to cut him, and I don't think that he has to really worry about that right now unless he, like, continues to lose fights. But I want to bring what Brendan Schaub said into, like, the conversation, okay? Because he basically said that in the video, too, his money is owed, and that by refusing it, Moicano's being naive. And a lot of the MMA community has taken that even further, calling him straight up stupid and a lot of other things, okay? Another thing that I keep seeing is more people saying that by Moicano letting the UFC do this is they're walking all over the fighters, they're enabling the behavior moving forward, but like, by not taking a settlement, by honoring the contract that he signed, it's not like he said the UFC is perfect or anything. He just said, I signed this. I'm good with it. Yeah, like, I don't understand. I think it's a reach to start talking about, like, the further implications of what the UFC is going to do to other fighters behind this. I don't think it's a big deal. Like, the example that Brendan used on screen here is, like, Dana White gambles $200,000 like it's nothing. And as if to say, like, hey, look how little this money means to Dana. Take what you're owed. But I have an issue with that, and I've spoken about this at great lengths on the channel, and I'm sorry for repeating myself here, but we don't get to tell other people what to do with their money. If Dana wants to throw it on the street and leave it there, he can do that. That doesn't prove that the fighters are being exploited, and we gotta be honest here, guys, okay? And I know you're about to dislike the video and leave. A lot of this outrage just comes down to people hating on rich people, okay? And I know that you specifically watching this video might be a little bit different, okay? I know that there are exceptions, and I know that there are people, maybe that you're that person, there are people who think more than that, okay? But there's a large majority, I don't know about majority, there's a large group of people that instantly decide anyone with money is evil. That's not a real argument. You can say fighter pay should improve, but we can't use someone's wealth as, like, evidence that something's just completely wrong. Again, you wouldn't like it if anybody told you how to spend your money, right? And before you say it, because, again, I can already hear what you're typing in the comments, like, guys, I am absolutely here, and I absolutely hear you, and I believe that fighters should be paid more. Like, but you can say, like, oh, but Dana doesn't care. But maybe he doesn't. The UFC could pay more, like I just said, but dragging Dana's personal habits into an argument doesn't exactly address this real issue, and that's what a lot of people are doing. Oh, he can give the Nelk boy whatever he wants, right? It's still crazy because Moicano didn't take the money because he just didn't feel right about it. He signed a contract. Like, two things can be true. The UFC could be better. Yeah, but also, yes, Moicano does have the right to stand by the deal that he agreed with. He basically said that, like money is owed, and by refusing all of that money, like, Moicano's being naive. And a lot of the MMA community has taken that even further, just like looking at Moicano and calling him an idiot. Like, again, let me point you back to the same example that Brendan Schaub used. Dana gambles $1,000 like it's nothing, as if to say, like, oh my god, look how much little this money means to Dana. Take what you're owed. But again, we've talked about this at so many times on the channel. We do not get to tell other people what to do with their money. And there's another part that people really aren't talking about this. Like, Moicano is right about signing and accepting. That part isn't even up for debate. He's not pretending the UFC's perfect. He's saying that, hey, I signed this deal and I'm going to honor my deal that I signed. And that used to mean something to people. These days, people treat contracts like they're, I don't know, like suggestions. Like, you can just, like, I don't know, you just change your mind. I don't know. I don't need to honor that contract, but a deal's a deal. You can disagree with the UFC all day long. You can take that lawsuit money, fine. That's your choice. And again, honestly, guys, if I was in Renato Moicano's position, I would take that as well. I'd go $200,000, yes. But we can't act like Moicano's wrong for choosing principle and his word over any profit. Like, he's okay to do that. He's not just like us. We don't have to all agree. And what's the big deal about him not taking that? I take it. But then there's, like, the entire free market side of this. Like, and on this too, Moicano's absolutely correct. And this is another thing that I talk about at great lengths on the channel. If you are unsatisfied with your contract, you literally can go somewhere else. And I already know what you're going to say to this. Well, the UFC is a monopoly. Fighters don't really have a choice, okay? The UFC dominates because it earned that position. It built the infrastructure, the fan base, the broadcast deals, the brand recognition that wasn't handed to everybody working at the UFC. Dana and the other people behind the UFC worked so hard to get the UFC in a position that it is in today. Other promotions exist, and the fighters still chase the UFC. Why? Because it offers the biggest spotlight. There's a reason why everybody wants to be in the UFC, and all of a sudden, no, that contract's not okay. And I have always agreed with Dana when he said that the UFC isn't opportunities. Fighters need to see this opportunity for what it is, and that is a platform for themselves. It's a place to build a name. Like, it's a place to earn recognition. It's a place to create generational wealth for them and their family. Fighters need to be grateful for the opportunity to have the spotlight that hundreds of thousands of people would kill for. A lot of fighters make enough money from one fight that people make an entire year. And it's not hard to do that. You just need to make a name for yourself. No one is forced to sign the contract. And yes, alternatives might not be as good, but isn't that just a testament to the UFC success? If you don't like the contract, don't sign it. But once you do, all of a sudden, like, it's so bad for Renato Moicano honoring his word. At the very least, like, we can't criticize the guy who does honor his word in the contract. That's what you should do when you sign a contract. So, guys, I do not think that Moicano deserves all the backlash that he gets. I think that, if anything, he deserves a little bit of credit. Not because, like, he just made a grand choice, you know? It's because he made a hard one. And he made a hard choice in a world where everyone wants to renegotiate after the fact if their contract's up. He chose to keep his word. That says something. Even if you disagree, you should at least admit that, like, that kind of honor is rare, you know? And maybe even worth respecting. And again, you might think that it's not that deep, and you might think that that's life-changing money, but it doesn't change the fact that Renato Moicano signed the contract, he's honoring that contract, and all of a sudden he's a big bootlicker. It's incredible to me. But Renato Moicano did receive a ton of replies along the lines of, like, oh my god, you're an actual idiot. So there's not a ton we can actually break down about this. He also sees things like this, bro. Nobody cares that much. And Moicano responding how Moicano ends up responding. But in reality, Moicano's name has been being slandered over the internet for a little while. And this is another thing that you see a ton. Renato Moicano to the UFC. Like, nobody really thinks about it and just goes, oh yeah, look what you're doing for the big company. And I understand, okay? I understand where you're coming from, and I do believe that fighters should be paid more. It's just a situation that's not a big deal, okay? It's not a good look for your brand when your brand is literally show me the money, then you turn down a free 200K. Yeah, like I said, it's a ton of stuff like this that people are going crazy about. I don't understand how somebody could turn down 200K, to be honest with you. You did the right thing. You signed a contract and you stuck to it. On the other hand, people signed the same contract benefiting from it, and later in life decided it was unfair and demanded more money. That's like exactly my point. That's exactly my point. I'm not judging anybody for taking $200,000. That's $200,000. And again, if I was in a fighter's position, I wouldn't even think twice about it. And I'd be like, $200,000? Yeah. Yes, please. But I respect Renato Moicano for sticking to his guns and the contract that he signed. I just don't think you're wrong. I think you're stupid for not accepting the money you owed by law. Sounds like you're misinterpreting economic rhetorical theory. You're just young. You're still young and have a long road ahead for you. So it's for you and your family. I hope you are never in a position that 200K is make or break for your health. We have seen where prize fighters need money for health reasons later in life. Be well. Now, I'm not sitting here saying like Renato Moicano is like the smartest guy in the world. Obviously, you know what I mean. And I think he's more intelligent than a lot of fighters. But I don't know. It's just something like. I don't know. It's something about the random Twitter users like talking down to people that's kind of like just, huh. You know what I mean? Respect you for having the courage of your convictions, but I fear that you will regret this in the near future. It won't be long before the UFC spits you out, and you will realize how massively underpaid and exploited you actually were. I don't think that the UFC is going to do that to Moicano. I also don't think that they're going to look at it and be like, oh, look what Moicano did. He didn't take the 200K. I don't think that they're really going to notice. I just think that Renato Moicano is a big enough name where they're going to keep him around until he goes like on a 6-7 fight losing streak like a Tony Ferguson for him to lose. But by then, he'll be able to get a win because they'll match him up with like some up-and-coming lightweight that's not as good. So I think it's fine. All in all, guys, I think that people made such a big deal out of something that shouldn't have been a big deal. But let me know what you think down below. Thank you very much for watching. Check out the video on screen if you want to talk about MMA. YouTube thinks you'll like this video the best. Thank you for being here. Take care, everybody.